Dear students, welcome to this class of mine. Today I will tell you some important questions along with their answers on the chapter Indigo included in the syllabus of class 12 students. The questions have been selected from each page of this chapter. Try to understand the answers to these questions attentively. What is the meaning of indigo? Indigo is a plant, deep reddish blue in color. From this plant, blue colored dye is prepared. This indigo plantation was very much popular in the early years of 20th century. This indigo is an excerpt from the book The Life of Mahatma Gandhi, written by Louis Fisher. In 1942, Louis Fisher went to meet Gandhiji at his ashram in Sevagram. During the interview, he asked Gandhiji what that was which compelled him to urge the departure of the British. Louis Fisher met Gandhiji in 1942. Gandhiji told him that it was the Champaran episode in 1917 which compelled him to tell the British to leave India. On page 46, there is one poor farmer, Rajkumar Shukla, who was a sharecropper then. There used to be an agreement between a landlord and a sharecropper on the basis of which they would share the crop of indigo. That agreement was very irksome, very unfair. The poor farmers, the poor peasants who were involved in indigo plantation were being exploited by the English landlords. Somebody told Rajkumar Shukla to meet Gandhiji. Gandhiji would look into their grievances. He went to meet Gandhiji and requested him to come to the Champaran district. Gandhiji told him that he had to visit many parts of the country. Then he would go to Calcutta on such and such a date. He should meet him there. Rajkumar Shukla followed Gandhiji wherever he went. Weeks and months passed. He did not leave Gandhiji's side. Gandhiji was highly impressed with Rajkumar Shukla's tenacity and resoluteness, and he agreed to visit the Champaran district. They took a train to reach Patna to meet Rajendra Prasad, who later became the President of India, the first President of India. But Rajendra Prasad was not at his house. So the servants at his house, who was familiar with Rajkumar Shukla, permitted them to stay there. But Gandhiji was not allowed to draw water from the well there. The servants took Gandhiji as an untouchable. They thought that a drop of water from his bucket would pollute the whole water in the well. So these are the two pages number 46 and 47. I have covered. I have given you some important questions along with their answer from these two pages. Dear students, आज मैं आपको कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चंस उनके आंसर्स के साथ दूंगा. ये क्वेश्चंस और आंसर्स चैप्टर इंडिगो पर आधारित हैं, जो क्लास 12 के सिलेबस में है. इस साल के लिए इंपॉर्टेंट हो सकते हैं. आप इन्हें ध्यान से समझने की कोशिश कीजिए. मैंने हर पेज से इस चैप्टर के कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चंस सेलेक्ट किए हैं, उनके आंसर्स लिखे हैं. आपको काफ़ी हेल्प करेंगे एग्जाम के टाइम. सबसे पहले ये समझिए इंडिगो क्या है. इंडिगो एक डीप रेडिश ब्लू कलर का प्लांट होता है, जिससे ब्लू कलर की डाई तैयार की जाती है. 20th सेंचुरी के अर्ली पार्ट में इसकी प्लांटेशन काफी पॉपुलर थी. इंडियन फार्मर्स इंग्लिश लैंडलॉर्ड्स के लिए ये प्लांटेशन किया करते थे. एक उनके बीच में एग्रीमेंट होता था. उस एग्रीमेंट के बेसिस पे, आधार पे वो उसको डिवाइड किया करते थे. ये शेयर क्रॉपिंग का अर्थ है. और जो फार्मर पेजेंट इस प्लांटेशन को क्या करते थे, वो शेयर क्रॉपर्स कहलाते थे. ये इंडिगो चैप्टर लाइफ ऑफ महात्मा गांधी बुक से लिया गया है, और ये बुक लिखी गई है लुइस फिशर. 1942 में लुइस फिशर गांधी जी का इंटरव्यू लेने के लिए उनके आश्रम गए सेवाग्राम में. उस इंटरव्यू के दौरान लुइस फिशर ने गांधी जी से पूछा कि ऐसा कौन सा कारण था जिससे आपने ब्रिटिश का डिपार्चर के लिए एक कॉल दी, आह्वान किया. गांधी जी ने बताया कि ये 1917 की घटना है, वो चंपारण एपिसोड है, जब मैंने ये डिसाइड किया कि ब्रिटिश को यहां से जाना होगा. पेज नंबर 46 के चैप्टर पर राजकुमार शुक्ला एक किसान थे, पेजेंट थे पुअर. वो एक शेयर प्रॉपर थे. शेयर प्रॉपर्स के साथ जो एग्रीमेंट हुआ करता था ब्रिटिश लैंडलॉर्ड्स का, वो बहुत अनफेयर, अनजस्ट था. उनकी एक्सप्लॉयटेशन थी. तो किसी ने सुझाव दिया राजकुमार शुक्ला को कि आप गांधी जी से मिलिए, वो आपकी समस्याओं का कुछ समाधान ढूंढेंगे। राजकुमार शुक्ला गांधी जी से मिले, उनसे रिक्वेस्ट की चंपारण आने के लिए। गांधी जी ने कहा अभी तो मुझे पूरे भारत का दौरा करना है, जगह जगह जाना है, और मैं इस पर्टिकुलर डेट को कलकत्ता पहुंचूंगा, वहां आप मेरे से मिलिए। महीनों बीत गए। राजकुमार शुक्ला जब तक गांधी जी ने रिक्वेस्ट नहीं मानी चंपारण आने की, जब तक उनके साथ रहे, पीछे रहे, गांधी जी का साथ नहीं छोड़ा। गांधी जी यह देखकर, उनकी दृढ़ता, दृढ़ विश्वास देखकर, उनकी निष्ठा देखकर बड़े प्रभावित हुए। उन्होंने कहा ठीक है, मैं चंपारण चलूंगा। गांधी जी और राजकुमार शुक्ला दोनों ने पटना के लिए ट्रेन ली और राजेंद्र प्रसाद के घर पहुंचे, जो कि भारत के प्रथम राष्ट्रपति बने। राजेंद्र प्रसाद अपने घर पर नहीं थे, लेकिन वहां के जो सर्वेंट्स थे उनके, वो राजकुमार शुक्ला से परिचित थे, तो उन्होंने वहां ठहरने का परमिशन दे दी, वहां ठहरने की परमिशन दे दी। उन्होंने गांधी जी को एक आम फार्मर की तरह समझा, जैसे दूसरे शेयर क्रॉपर्स होते थे। गांधी जी को परमिशन नहीं दी कि कुएं से पानी लेने की, कि उन्होंने सोचा कि ये कोई अनटचेबल है। उन्हें पता भी कैसे लगता कि गांधी जी अनटचेबल नहीं है। ये पेज नंबर 47 पे दिया गया है। अब मैंने इन 2 पेजेस से कुछ क्वेश्चंस लिए हैं, आप उन्हें देखिए, उन्हें समझिए। I will read out these questions along with their answers. Try to listen to them attentively. Question 1. How did Rajkumar Shukla's tenacity and resoluteness impress Gandhi ji? Page number 47. Answer. When Rajkumar Shukla pleaded Gandhi ji to come to the Champaran district to look into the grievances of the sharecroppers, Gandhi ji told him that he had first to go to many other parts of the country. Shukla followed him wherever Gandhi ji went. Weeks and months passed. He never left Gandhi ji's side. Gandhi ji got highly impressed with Shukla's tenacity, who finally succeeded in taking Gandhi ji to Champaran. Question number 2. Why was Gandhi ji not allowed to draw water from the well at Rajkumar Prasad's house? Page number 47. In Rajendra Prasad's absence at his house, his servants took Gandhi ji as another yeoman. Yeoman means poor farmer. How they could have come to know that Gandhi ji was not an untouchable? They thought a few drops of water from his bucket would pollute the whole water in the well. Question number 3. This is from page number 48. What was an extraordinary thing in those days when Gandhi ji stayed in the house of Professor Malkani? Page number 48. Gandhi ji's stay for 2 days in the house of Professor Malkani, a teacher in a school, was an extraordinary. Now we move forward from here. The news of Gandhi ji's arrival and of his mission, purpose of visiting Muzaffarpur reached the poor peasants. They came in a large number on foot or by using different modes of transport to see their champion. Champion is a person who fights for the rights of others. The lawyers of Muzaffarpur called on Gandhiji to brief him about the grievances of those poor peasants. They also told him the size of fee they charge from those poor peasants. Gandhiji chided them, admonished them, reprimanded them, rebuked, these are the synonyms, them for charging such a high amount from these poor peasants. Gandhiji advised them that going to the courts to fight their cases, to represent them, would be useless. Because these poor peasants were so crushed and fear-stricken. Fear-stricken means full of fear. Going to the courts would not help their cause. He told the lawyers that they should first remove the fear from their hearts and minds. Most of the land in the Champaran district was fertile. The indigo plantation was the chief commercial crop. The English landlords compelled the poor Indian peasants to plant indigo in their 3/20ths or 15% of their holdings with indigo and surrender the harvest as rent. This contract or this agreement would continue for a long period of time. That is why this agreement was very irksome, exploitative in nature for these poor peasants. Dear students, अब हम पेज नंबर 48 और 49 पर चलते हैं। 48 के जो फर्स्ट पैरा है, जिसमें ये बताया गया है कि वो कौन सी एक्स्ट्रा ऑर्डिनरी थिंग थी जब गांधी जी प्रोफेसर मलकानी के मकान में 2 दिन ठहरे। प्रोफेसर मलकानी एक गवर्नमेंट टीचर थे। उन दिनों गवर्नमेंट एम्प्लॉइज को यह अनुमति नहीं थी कि वो उन लोगों को अपने घर में शरण दें जो कि होम रूल के लिए प्रचार कर रहे थे, आवाज उठा रहे थे। मुजफ्फरपुर में जैसे ही गांधी जी पहुंचे, जो पुअर पेजेंट्स थे चंपारण के, उन्हें उनके आगमन का पता लगा। वो हजारों की संख्या में, कुछ पैदल, कुछ अलग अलग वाहनों से मुजफ्फरपुर पहुंचे गांधी जी को देखने के लिए। गांधी जी के विषय में उन्हें ज़्यादा मालूम नहीं था। वो ये समझे कि वो चैंपियन है। चैंपियन वो होता है जो दूसरों के अधिकारों के लिए लड़ता है। मुजफ्फरपुर में के जो वकील थे जो इन पुअर पेजेंट्स को रिप्रेजेंट करते थे कोर्ट में, वो गांधी जी से मिले उन्हें बताने के लिए कि पुअर पेजेंट्स की, इन किसानों की क्या समस्या है, और साथ में ये भी बताया कि वो उनसे क्या फीस लेते हैं। जब गांधी जी ने सुना कि ये इतनी फीस लेते हैं तो उन्हें डांटा। गांधी जी ने कहा, ये पुअर पेजेंट्स है, आप इनसे इतनी फीस लेते हैं। गांधी जी ने उन्हें सलाह दी कि कोर्ट्स में जाने में इस समस्या का समाधान नहीं होगा, क्योंकि ये गरीब किसान बहुत क्रस्ट है, इनका बहुत शोषण हुआ है, डर इनके दिल में बैठा हुआ है, पहले वो डर हमें निकालना होगा। चंपारण डिस्ट्रिक्ट में अधिकतर भूमि उपजाऊ थी। इंडिगो प्लांटेशन एक मुख्य कमर्शियल क्रॉप थी। द इंग्लिश लैंडलॉर्ड्स जो थे वो भारतीय पेजेंट्स को, किसानों को कंपेल करते थे, विवश करते थे कि वो उनके 3/20 और 15% लैंड में, होल्डिंग्स में इंडिगो प्लांटेशन करेंगे और पूरी हार्वेस्ट इंडिगो की वो उन्हें देंगे रेंट के रूप में। ये एग्रीमेंट वर्षों तक चलता रहता था, इसलिए बहुत कष्टदायक और शोषण से भरा हुआ था। यहां तक हमने इसके क्वेश्चंस किए हैं, उनके आंसर्स मैंने लिखे हैं। अब मैं उन आंसर्स को आपको बताऊंगा, उन्हें आप समझिए, उनकी लैंग्वेज देखिए। Question 4. Why did Gandhiji chide the lawyers of Muzaffarpur? This kind of a question can be framed from the middle of that page. Answer. In Muzaffarpur, the lawyers called on Gandhiji to brief him about the situation. They frequently fought legal cases against the landowners for the peasant groups in court. These lawyers told him, yani Gandhiji, about the fee that they charged from the sharecroppers. Gandhiji reprimanded the lawyers for collecting exorbitant fee from them. Reprimanded means rebuked them, admonished them, scolded them for collecting such a high fee from these poor peasants. Question number 5. How and why did Gandhiji make the lawyers of Muzaffarpur participate actively in freeing the peasants from the oppression of the British? Page 48. Answer. Gandhiji advised the lawyers to stop going to the courts. Taking such cases to the courts would do little good. Where the peasants are so crushed and fear-stricken means full of fear, the courts are useless. The real relief for them would be to make them free from fear. They thought that Gandhiji was totally a stranger, and yet he was prepared to go to the prison for the sake of these peasants. Leaving the peasants in the middle of their fight would be a desertion. Question number 6. How was the sharecropping arrangement between the English landlords and the Indian peasants irksome, yani problematic? Page number 48 or some part of 49. Answer. The indigo plantation was the chief commercial crop. The English landlords compelled the Indian peasants to plant 3/20 or 15% of their holdings with indigo and surrender the entire indigo harvest as rent. This contract used to be in force and it would continue over a long period of time. During the period of this unjust long-term agreement, the English landlords came to know about synthetic indigo developed by Germany. They obtained agreements from the sharecroppers to pay them compensation for being released from the 15% arrangement. Making them free from that 15% arrangement. Many sharecroppers signed those agreements willingly. Those who opposed engaged lawyers. The English landlords hired thugs. In the meantime, the illiterate peasants came to know about the synthetic indigo. They demanded their money back, the compensation they had paid to these English landlords, because that money was taken from them deceitfully. This was the dispute between the English landlords and the sharecroppers when Gandhiji arrived in Champaran. This is very important to remember, otherwise the chapter won't be clear. In this connection, Gandhiji went to meet the secretary of the British Landlords Association. The secretary refused to give him any information in this connection in relation to that dispute, telling Gandhiji that he was an outsider. Gandhiji told him that he was no outsider. Gandhiji later met the British official commissioner of the Tirhut division to know the facts regarding this dispute. The commissioner proceeded to bully him, to threaten him, and advised him to leave Tirhut immediately. Gandhiji did not leave Tirhut. Instead, he went to Motihari, the then capital of Champaran. Gandhiji and his lawyer friends were actively involved in collecting evidences, taking written statements from these poor peasants. In that process, Gandhiji came to know that a poor farmer, a poor peasant, had been maltreated nearby, near Motihari. Gandhiji decided to go to that village where that poor peasant had been maltreated. He was going on an elephant back when the police superintendent's messenger overtook him and ordered him to return to town in his carriage. Gandhiji complied, agreed. When Gandhiji reached home, the messenger served him with an official order to leave Champaran immediately. I have framed some important questions from page number 49. I have written the answers to these questions. Try to listen to these answers. These answers will help you in understanding this chapter. Now I will read out these answers. Try to listen to them attentively. Question number 7. What was the main dispute between the English landlords and the peasants when Gandhiji arrived in Champaran? Page number 49. When the landlords came to know about synthetic indigo in Germany, they obtained agreements from the sharecroppers to pay them compensation for freeing them from the 15% arrangement. Many peasants signed willingly. Those who opposed engaged lawyers. The landlords hired thugs to check them. That means who opposed the agreements. Meanwhile, the illiterate peasants who had signed the agreements also came to know about synthetic indigo. They demanded their money back. At this stage, Gandhiji arrived in Champaran. Very important to know, and this question is very, very important. Question number 8. Why was Gandhiji told to leave the Tirhut division? Page 49. When Gandhiji met the secretary of the British Landlords Association to collect facts regarding the dispute between the English landlords and the sharecroppers, the latter here is secretary, denied Gandhiji to part with any information, telling him that he was an outsider. Gandhiji told him that he was no outsider. Gandhiji later called on the British official commissioner of the Tirhut division in this respect. The commissioner proceeded to threaten him and advise him to leave Tirhut immediately. Question number 9. Why was Gandhiji ordered officially to leave Champaran immediately? Page 49 and some part page 50. Gandhiji was going to see a poor peasant in a village near Motihari, the then capital of Champaran. The peasant had been maltreated. Gandhiji had not gone far when the police superintendent's messenger overtook him and ordered him to return to town in his carriage. Gandhiji complied. The messenger drove Gandhiji home, where he served him with an official notice to quit Champaran immediately. So, these answers are very important, particularly the time. You have to remember the time when Gandhiji arrived in Champaran. I hope these answers will help you a lot in understanding this chapter. Dear students, you must have definitely found this video meaningful and useful. If yes, like and share it. Please don't forget to hit the button subscribe. Make sure that you press the bell icon on all so that you could never miss an update.